Rotational kinematics. So for rotational kinematics, we're going to need to know just two basic terms. The first is angular velocity. Angular velocity is the rate of change of an angle. It's basically how fast something rotates. The units are in radians per second or degrees per second. So if I wrote this out, it'd be radians per second or degrees per second, and that's the degree symbol. Angular velocity. So let me give you an example of something that rotates. So let's look at this animation here. This is spinning. It's rotating. Basically, we would want to know how fast is it rotating, how fast is the angle changing per unit of time. The next term that we're going to need to know is angular acceleration. Angular acceleration is the rate at which angular velocity changes. So basically, it's when we represent angular velocity, we would write angular velocity as omega. Okay, so omega is angular velocity. Therefore, acceleration we write as alpha. Acceleration is just going to be the rate at which the velocity changes. So when we talk about angular acceleration, we're talking about how fast does the rotation, does the velocity change. So I want you to take a look at these next two animations. I'm going to have them spin progressively faster to show you that angular acceleration is really the rate at which this rotating would change. So let's take a look at the next animation. This is spinning a little bit faster, and then if it accelerates again to a higher angular velocity, it'd be spinning very fast, like this. Okay, the two formulas that we need to know. The first formula is given by the symbol omega. So this is angular velocity. So this is going to be angular velocity. And that's given by the change in the angle theta divided by the change in time. Oftentimes, we're given revolutions per minute or revolutions per unit of time. Basically, what we need to do is another way to write this formula would be the revolutions, per second times 2 pi. Or if you're using degrees, it'd be revolutions per second times 360 degrees. So the number of full rotations times 360 degrees, or the number of full rotations times 2 pi. We're basically just trying to figure out, how fast is this angle changing. The next equation we need to know is angular acceleration. Angular acceleration, quite simple. It's just the change in angular velocity divided by the change in time. So to solve for the angular acceleration, we need to use the angular velocity formula. Let's go through a couple of the new variables. Omega gives you angular velocity. As we said, the unit is radians per second, or sometimes degrees per second, but most of the time we'll see it as radians per second. Angle, we already know, is given in radians, and angular acceleration is just radians per second squared.